I kind of don't want a sequel, but at the same time, I really want a sequel. Today on Readus Reviews, I review Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the first theatrically released animated Spider-Man movies, and one of the best non-MCU affiliated Sony Spider-Man movies since Spider-Man 2? Which, if you know their track record, says a lot. The story is pretty much an origin story for Miles Morales, who gets bitten by a radioactive spider and gains the traditional abilities of a Spider-Man, along with a few new ones, conveniently right before the Peter Parker of his universe dies, kinda like in the Ultimate Comics. But the manner in which his Peter Parker in his universe died kinda resulted in a lot of different Spider-Men from a lot of different universes to get dropped into his. And so Miles has to prove to himself that he's worthy enough to pick up where Peter in his universe left off and help his other friends get back home. Now, considering that I have never read any of Michael Brian Bendis' work, or the Spider-Verse event that this movie was based on, the story that I got exposed to in this movie was pretty decent, I would say. There was no loose ends as far as exposition was concerned, and the exposition itself wasn't boring. The pacing was excellent, and I felt like there was a whole story and wasn't pieced together by executives. Like, it was actually fleshed out from beginning to end by actual writers for once. And the animation was just, it was fucking beautiful. It didn't exactly match the style that the Paperboy short at the beginning of Wreck-It Ralph 1 had, that, like I said in my previous video that I did about Into the Spider-Verse, but there were elements of that, but at the same time, it was also its own unique thing, and it was really nice. I was personally concerned that a lot of people would be thrown off by like the 3D blue and red textures in the background that kind of clashed together, but it didn't bother me any, and if anybody has an astigmatism or something like that, I doubt it will bother them either. Also, can I just say kudos to the marketing team for not accidentally exposing secret villains in this movie through the trailers and the promotions? Like, there was one villain specifically in this movie that was used that once I found out who it was, I literally just went, woo! Like, sure, yes, one could argue that in a movie about parallel universes and dimensions and different takes on different characters, one could have expected it, but I for sure was not expecting it. Especially in the way that we received it, and it worked? Speaking of characters, let's talk about the ones that stood out to me the most, starting with Miles Morales. I personally love the authenticity of Miles' character. And what I mean by that is that his personality wasn't just a list of like tics in order to like seem genuine to either African American or like Latinx American peeps, because he's a mixture of both in the comics. He had his own thoughts, he had his own opinions, he had his own personality. In a world in which characters can be crafted in order to meet a specific demographic, he was just allowed to be a kid who just so happened to be black and Latinx. It's just like, it was perfect. And the combination of voice acting and animation for Miles it just drove a lot of things home. And the progression of his character was so well handled that when it got to the point where his actual costume was revealed, I got chills watching him on screen. Spider-Gwen was also great. I fucking love Spider-Gwen. I've been meaning to read her comics, but after seeing her in action now, it's just like, I need them. Her and Miles' chemistry on screen was great, and it wasn't really trying to force the romantic interest angle. Like, it's established early on that Miles is digging Gwen, but it's at the same time, it's just like, that's not the main focal point. The progression of how their bond is genuine from beginning to end, and that's pretty much all I can ask for. And Hobo SpiderMan was kinda exactly how I pictured Hobo SpiderMan would be. He's like a rated PG version of Joel from The Last of Us, if that makes any sense. Like, instead of being grizzled and hard-edged and gritty and just have this fuck the world mentality, he's just clinically depressed. But I like that the three of these characters help each other out as far as building each other's progression and development. That really was really nice for me. But if I would have to find a nitpick in it, I would have to say it's in the villain of this movie, which is Kingpin. Not necessarily because they got his character wrong, they definitely got his character right. I wasn't expecting that Tony Soprano-ass accent though, but it was a creative choice. It's fine. It's fine. No, the only thing that I found disheartening about his motives as far as like why he's doing what he's doing in this movie is just so weak. Maybe it's because I got spoiled by Spider-Man the Animated Series and the Netflix Daredevil TV show, but it's like, comparing those two Kingpins to how the Kingpin was in this movie, it was just like, come on, man. There has to be a better motivation for you to do what you're doing right now. Especially because the movie tried to play the, we want you to feel sympathetic about the villain card. And it's just like, nah, man, you were just a piece of shit. That was all on you, bruh. Like, if you want us to care about you like we cared about Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock, then do things that will make us care about you like we cared about Spider-Man 2's Doc Ock. Like, you just can't keep kicking a rose and calling it a daisy, dude. You can't do that. That's not how this works. But other than that, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was just amazing. No pun intended. The story was solid from beginning to end, the characters progressed beautifully, and the use of animation in this movie was nothing short than spectacular. Also no pun intended. In my opinion, as I stated earlier, this movie is the best Sony solo outing of Spider-Man in film that we've seen since Spider-Man 2. So not only should you go see this in the movie theater, but you should definitely pay full price for a ticket. It's worth it. So with that, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse if you've seen it. If you want to help support the channel, you can purchase official merchandise by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.